in Masonry, and when I first thought about being a Mason was, wow, how far back we go. All the way to the 1700s and probably a lot further than that.
Well, it was around long time before that. It goes back, it's documented back to the times of the Crusades in the 1300s.
You know, one of the nicest things about it, too, as Masons, as we know, when we're in lodge, everything is symbolic of back then. You know,
yes.
and that, to me, is what makes our degree work so, to me, impressive anyways.
Yes.
You know, when some young person's coming in or a new person's coming in, they get to see and listen and hear about the language back then, and we use the Old English, as we all know, and it's so impressive to somebody for the first time ever walking through the portals of our doors.
You know, I was given a lecture at one of the degrees, and I happened to find an 1894 book on Masonry. And that lecture was the same as it was then, 100 years ago, word for word, in the same lecture.
You know, the nice thing about it, too, talking about even just back to 1894, everything that we do as Masons, if a man is a Mason, he has done it. There is nothing different for each person.
Oh, no.
It's the same from one person to another. You know, and we talk about religion and color and whatever else it might be. People think that there's a stigma that you have to be a certain type person to become a Mason. As the film showed, you don't. You know, Freddie, we were talking earlier before the film, and I'm glad in the film it brought it up, the story about Teddy Roosevelt. You know, and if they didn't catch it, why don't you just repeat that story one more time about the gardener and...
Teddy Roosevelt and the gardener. Teddy Roosevelt was at his lodge, and he asked to leave. He asked the worshipful master for permission to leave. And he was asking his own gardener, who was the worshipful master.
Now, he was the president of our country at the time, wasn't he?
He was the president of our country at the time.
You know, that really shows us, Fran, that anybody, I don't care who it is, can be a Mason.
And it shows that we're all equal. We're all on the same plane. And there are no heirs, and there's no caste system there. We're just all equal in the lodge.
Like I had said earlier, it's people of every sect, country, and opinion who are Masons, and we all come into the door the same way. There are two things that are not allowed to be discussed in Masonry, in a Masonic lodge, as you know. One of them is politics, and the other is religion, because those are the two divisive things that would stir up arguments, and they're just not allowed in a Masonic lodge.
And I think it's important to emphasize the fact that we're not a religion.
Oh, certainly.
We teach moral lessons. We say nothing about salvation.
That is so true. That really
and
is.
we have no sacraments.
No.
Although we do have a Bible open all the time in our meetings. It is symbolic, and we teach moral lessons with the implements of Masonry.
You know, talking about the film, and everybody has just seen it, Fran, what's one of the biggest reasons that you really like being a Mason? What do you get most out of being who you are in the Masonic community?
The friendship, the fraternity, the hundreds and hundreds of people that I've met, made friends with, that I never would have known otherwise. I can go to any place in the country, and as soon as I make myself known as a Mason, I'm among friends.
Yeah, it's true. Freddie?
That's important. But for me, it's the moral lessons that we teach. I've learned a lot how to apply to my daily life those moral lessons, and I think I'm a better person, or have become a better person, because I joined Masonry and listened.
Oh, certainly. If you heed to the lessons that we teach, you can't help but be a better person.
You know, and the funny part about it, you know what, the nicest thing I get out of Masonry is the fun I've had with the kids. Yeah, as you both know, I'm so involved with the young Malayan Rainbow kids in our Masonic community. The way I've got to watch them grow up and become something of themselves. Of course, every town, a city has a boys' club or a girls' club, but this is something that we take personal, and we take our pride in what we do with the Malayan Rainbow. And to me, that's what Masonry is all about, what we're doing for the kids in our cities.
What we're doing for others.
Yeah.
And I have met people that I never would have met any other way.
Oh, certainly.
Dick lives on the same street.
Yeah.
We never would have known each other had it not been we joined Masonry, I bet you. I mean, he's on one end of the street, I'm on the other.
I'm going to become a Knights of Columbus next year.
But it is so great. The friendships that we've made, the things that we do. As you saw in the tape, we are very involved in the Shriners Burn Center.
You know, before we go any further, talking about the things we do, I understand that you have a display going on somewhere in town.
Oh, yes, certainly. During the month of June, in the East Bridgewater Public Library, we will have a display of Masonic memorabilia and artifacts going back hundreds of years for people to see. And we'll be running this tape for Masonic awareness, to let people know who we are and what we do.
Now, is everything that we have in Masonry open to the public at the library?
Yes, there's a lot of books there, and there'll be books on display, books that you can draw out to read and learn about Masonry.
Supposing, Fran, somebody had a question, who could they turn to?
Or they could call me.
All right.
I live here in town, 378-3240. But
You know-
I can answer any questions that anybody has.
Fran, I'm really glad you picked this tape tonight, what it means to be a Mason. I hope the people that watched it got something out of it. I hope they've learned a little something more about Masonry than what they knew before.